beneath the dust of centuries and the noise of modern cities, lie stairways spiraling into the earth, forgotten by time, yet built to endure it. These are India's stepwells, marvels of ancient architecture and water mastery. Each one is a maze of stone geometry, descending rhythmically toward the water table, functioning as both reservoir and refuge from the sweltering heat. But beyond utility, they are sacred monuments etched with spiritual and social significance. In regions where monsoons came late or never came at all, ancient engineers turned to the earth. Stepwells or Baoris were dug deep, some reaching over 10 stories below ground, to collect and preserve rainwater for months of drought. Every level marked a season's memory, each stone laid with intent, precision, and prayer. This was water not just for survival, but for ceremony, cleansing, and community. To walk through a stepwell is to enter a world of balance and proportion. Mathematical perfection guides the layout, fractal symmetry that calms the mind, as if the space itself is meditating. Trapezoids, octagons, colonnades, each form echoes both utility and divinity. This is not chaos carved into rock, but a philosophy laid in stone, whispering wisdom with every step. Stepwells were more than engineering. They were portals between the earthly and the divine. Many are aligned to temples, their descent mirroring spiritual journeys. From sunlit surface to watery sanctum, priests, poets, and pilgrims all gathered here. Each step downward a metaphor for inner reflection, each echo a whisper of the gods. Even now, faded sculptures of deities guard the lowest platforms, cradled in stillness. It was women who breathed life into these wells. At dawn, their silhouettes moved like rhythm across the stone steps, not just drawing water, but weaving stories, songs, and solidarity. The stepwell was a feminine space, carved by masculine hands, but sustained by the voices and footsteps of generations of women. Their laughter, prayers, and burdens echo in the air even today. Perhaps the most iconic of them all, Chand Baori in Rajasthan, is a hypnotic labyrinth of 3,500 steps, plunging 13 stories deep in perfect symmetry. Built over 1,000 years ago, its geometry stuns even modern architects. But beyond aesthetics, it kept the air cool, 20 degrees lower at the base. This was designed not for display, but for survival, sanctity, and solace. Today, many stepwells lie buried under garbage, graffiti, or modern neglect. Urban growth swallowed them, pipelines replaced them, and memories faded. Yet beneath the surface, their silence waits, timeless, untouched. These structures still hold water and wisdom, not just for historians, but for a world grappling with droughts and climate crisis. Stepwells were not just built, they were spoken into existence. Each chisel stroke translating a silent prayer for rain into permanence. Their designs formed a language, read by shadows, echo, and depth. Inscriptions, mandalas, and aquatic motifs remind us. Water was never just a resource, it was a relationship. And these walls, remember. We know the kings who commissioned them, but not the hands that carved each groove, hoisted each stone. The builders of stepwells remain nameless, their genius buried with time. Yet their work endures, proof of an unbroken dialogue between design and devotion. Their legacy lives in shade and echo, in coolness beneath fire, in balance carved into bedrock. The question now is not just how these structures were made, but whether we will let them disappear. Across India, local movements are beginning to restore stepwells, stone by stone. Architects, artists, and villagers join hands to revive not just the architecture, but the spirit of water as community, memory, and ritual. Will we descend once more, or seal them with silence? In ancient India, Engineering was never divorced from the sacred. Stepwells reflected this union, every angle aligned with energy, direction, and intention. Some followed Vastu Shastra, channeling not just water, but cosmic flow. The structure was a map of the universe, where descending meant aligning the body with the elements. Each stone a verse, each stair a meditation. Stepwells weren't isolated spaces, they were centers of daily life. Markets gathered above, festivals were hosted below, and voices echoed in the stone like music. Children played on the steps, travelers rested in the shade. It was a living architecture, breathing community, culture, and calmness. A world built downward, yet bursting with human presence. The stepwell was often seen as a yoni, a womb carved into earth. Welcoming, deep, and sacred. Water resting at its base symbolized fertility, birth, and renewal. Many were dedicated to goddesses like Durga or Lakshmi, honoring feminine energy through stone and silence. The descent wasn't just physical, it was a return to the mother source. Sound behaves differently inside a stepwell. Voices bounce in spirals, chants linger longer, and silence feels deeper. Acoustics were considered by instinct or design. Some wells were used for musical rituals, where hymns echoed like a choir from another realm. To stand still in such a place is to hear the memory of devotion. There was a time when these wells brimmed after the monsoon. The water cool, clean, and sacred. It mirrored the sky and fed the land. People bathed in it, prayed over it, and trusted it. Stepwells were proof that even in arid landscapes, human ingenuity could reach the divine. Not through height, but through depth. In cities like Jaipur and Ahmedabad, stepwells stood beside bazaars. Shoppers paused for water, travelers rested in shade. And gossip traveled faster than footsteps on stone. The well wasn't just infrastructure. It was the heartbeat of town life, quietly sustaining the day. Its water quenched more than thirst, it connected people. As Muslim dynasties rose in India, stepwells absorbed new aesthetics. Arches replaced corbels, calligraphy adorned sandstone, and symmetry took on Persian clarity. These hybrid stepwells, like Adalaj in Gujarat, became cultural dialogues in stone. Water still flowed below, but above. Faiths, forms, and philosophies merged into one enduring monument. Adalaj Naivav was built by Queen Rudabai, in memory of her king, who died before its completion. Each level reflects her mourning, carved with devotion and defiance. Legend says she delayed suicide until it was finished, choosing stone over silence, love over oblivion. Today, it stands not just as architecture, but as eternal memory. The descent into a stepwell mirrors the soul's journey inward. From light to shadow, surface to source. It reflects a sacred return, a humbling path. Every step taken downward is also a gesture of respect. A quiet submission to the elements. In architecture, few things are as meditative or as metaphorical. The builders left no manuals. No blueprints, no formulas, only the stones remain. Knowledge of airflow, cooling, and seasonal alignment, all passed orally. With every generation that forgets, something ancient fades. Not just techniques, but a way of seeing water as a living force, not a utility. If we forget the stepwell, we forget part of ourselves. Stepwells weren't just for survival, they were stages for rituals. Ceremonies unfolded where water met stone. From births to marriages, from prayers to partings. At certain times of year, the wells echoed with chants and colors. Lamps floated across the surface, turning the water into fire. A sacred mirror between heavens and earth. While most famous wells lie in Western India, The South holds its own hidden masterpieces. Temple tanks and step tanks, like those in Hampi or Tamil Nadu, follow different rhythms. Square calm and temple facing. They speak a language less geometric, but deeply ceremonial. Here, water meets God not with grandeur, but with quiet dignity. Stepwells weren't made beautiful for decoration. They were designed that way to last. Ornate carvings reduced erosion. Staggered levels eased load-bearing. Aesthetics served physics. Every angle deflected heat. Every column carried both weight and meaning. Even the art had purpose, reminding users to respect what they drew from. In many cultures, water is said to hold memory. Stepwells may not speak, but their stillness remembers everything. The footsteps, the laughter, the rituals, the cries. Stone and water together recorded lives, without writing a word. And if you stand quietly, you'll feel what history never wrote, only echoed. Can ancient design solve modern crisis? Architects today look to stepwells not as relics, but blueprints for climate resilience. They're studying passive cooling, rain capture, thermal control, all encoded in these centuries-old marvels. Maybe the future isn't up, it's down. In these wells lie not just water, but wisdom waiting to be drawn again. Across India, a handful of people have taken it upon themselves to protect these stepwells. Historians, photographers, village elders, each playing their part. They document, clean, and campaign, stone by stone. It's quiet work, but in their care, ancient voices return, echoing not in words but in walls. They are not restoring ruins, they're reawakening memory. Even in megacities like Delhi or Bengaluru, stepwells still exist, hidden in alleys and under markets. Few notice them, and fewer know their names. Yet beneath the asphalt, they remain intact. Some are locked, some flooded, some haunted by myths. But all of them breathe a silent endurance, waiting for the day the city remembers what lies beneath. India's ancient civilization wasn't built on conquest, it was carved around water. From the Indus Valley to Rajasthan's deserts, the stepwell was its quiet pillar. It offered no flags, no declarations, just depth and durability. These weren't just architectural feats. They were philosophies in stone. And every echo down their steps is a whisper from that wisdom. There's something poetic about a stairway that leads not upward, but downward. Not toward ambition, but toward sustenance. It humbles, not elevates. The stepwell is a contradiction in stone. It invites you into the earth, yet somehow brings you closer to the divine. The stepwell is not just a relic. It's a living metaphor of memory, of design, of humanity's bond with water. And as we face the future, it reminds us to look down, not just forward. To descend, not as loss, but as return. So take the step. Descend into time, and subscribe for more journeys through forgotten wonders. Shadows move differently inside a stepwell. Their patterns stretch, bend, and disappear into stone. Like time itself, folding inward. Ancient builders knew this. Some aligned their wells to track solstices. Each shadow became a silent clock, marking not just hours, but seasons, prayers, and purpose. When we walk through these ruins, we don't just see architecture. We witness ambition without arrogance. Beauty rooted in balance, not excess. The stepwell teaches us that greatness can lie in silence, and that the deepest truths may dwell far beneath the surface. We only need the courage to look down. Listen closely. Even now, in the forgotten corners of India, a stepwell holds its breath. No footsteps, no voices, just wind, water, and waiting. But the silence is not emptiness. It is memory made still. And in that stillness, The past whispers. Not all who dig deep are lost. Some are simply listening.